on his social media feed. I'll start with you, Prem. In a way, you are suggesting that we have not been asking the right questions. As I understand it, and I'm not a sports journalist, the question seems to me to be simply who took the decision on how to keep Vinesh's strength up before her final bout, and what to feed her in such a way that her weight could be contained, but she was not above the mark that she needed to be above. What do you think we've been missing, Prem? I'll start with you.
Well, Barkha, the thing is, firstly, you referenced the Usha statements. The question here is, which Usha do you believe? On August 8th, she puts out a statement. I quote, I am aware of the relentless efforts made by Vinesh's medical team, led by Dr. Dinesh Pardiwala and Chef de Mission Gagan Narang through the night to ensure that she could meet the competition requirements. That is on the 8th of August. Today, on the 12th of August, Usha puts out another statement. Again, quote, the responsibility of weight management of athletes for sports like wrestling, weightlifting, boxing, and judo is that of each athlete and his or her coach, and not is all in caps. That's Usha channeling her inner Donald Trump. The responsibility is not that of the IOA appointed Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Dinesh Pardiwala, and his team. Now, who said that it is Dr. Pardiwala's responsibility? Usha said that in her first statement. Now she says it is not the responsibility. As far as the hate is concerned, look, if you're going to go burrowing around in the dark corners of the internet, particularly social media, you're going to find a lot of ill-informed hate. But the majority of the media, the commentators, even laypersons are asking questions. They're not directing hate at anybody. If these questions are being addressed to Dr. Pardiwala, that is because Dr. Pardiwala himself put himself forward as the person who was, if you remember that video that was put out on the morning of the 8th, Dr. Pardiwala and Usha sitting side by side, it's almost a P2C kind of video. And Dr. Pardiwala repeatedly says, we worked through the night, we did everything possible, we even cut her hair, it's all we. So it is not the media that is making up this whole thing that Dr. Pardiwala is answerable. It is Dr. Pardiwala saying, I'm the person who led the effort. And Usha endorsing that. So where does this whole thing of he's being unfairly targeted come in? The question about, and to the questions that we are not asking, look, in elite sport, nothing is ad hoc. Usha has Vinesh has a full team. There is the coach, his name is Waller Akos. There is a sports scientist, a very renowned person, Dr. Wayne Lombard. There's a physio, Ashwini. What these people do, particularly during competition, is they monitor every single thing that Vinesh does. How much rest she's got, what she's eaten at what point, and that is measured to the micrograms. The contents are recorded. The water intake or the fluid intake is recorded at every single stage. The IOA measures the athlete only before the first weigh-in on the morning of day one, but the support staff weighs them all the time. They need to make sure the athlete is in tip-top condition, right? So all this data is digitized, it is available, and all it takes is for the IAA to sit with the support staff, look through those data points, see where it possibly could have gone wrong, and come up with a clear statement. End of story.
Can I ask you a question before I go to Sanjeev on a different related point that he's raised? You spoke about Vinesh Phogat's support staff. Now, journalists I've been interviewing who are on the ground in Paris, they say that the support staff must explain who took what decision. They seem to agree with the argument that Dr. Pardiwala, even though he was the front face alongside PT Usha in explaining all the efforts that the team made to cut her weight, was not primarily responsible, but we have not heard from the support staff at all. Do you think that that is an unreasonable point to raise, that Vinesh Phogat support staff, Vinesh Phogat herself, who must be so traumatized right now, they have not come forward to speak at all? So everything we know, we only know on behalf of that statement made by PT Usha and Pardiwala, which doesn't mean Pardiwala was accountable for it.
No, See, it's not about being accountable. It is about when something goes wrong, it is about finding out what went wrong so that at least it won't happen again, right? As far as the support staff is concerned, the only thing that we've heard, and this is on Dr. Lombard's Twitter stream, I saw
Yeah.
him quoting Daniel Boorstin, and he adds, can brush off reporters' comments as they are just doing their job. Difficult to accept lack of support for, I think he meant from, difficult to accept lack of support from those who know better. I don't know who he's pointing at, but the question that comes to mind is, has the support staff been told not to talk? Could that be because of the upcoming CAS decision? Or is there some other reason the support staff is not talking? Intriguingly, Vinesh, through the lawyer Rahul Mehra, has approached the Supreme Court with a petition saying that Sanjay Singh, the president of the uh, Wrestling Federation of India, which has been banned by or suspended by the sports ministry, was in
Yeah.
the games village and took decisions on her behalf without her knowledge and consent. So the whole thing is so murky, and it is murky when it need not be. It would have been a simple matter. Okay, fine. If the support staff can't talk for any sort of legal reasons, Usha can
Yeah.
sit with them, find out what precisely happened, and put the data out in the public domain. That ends all the conspiracy theories. It ends the problem right there.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
which,
I
what we're
think.
getting is a yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Instead of which, what we're getting is contradiction and, according to you, opacity and very confusing signaling. Because suddenly, this statement coming hours before the verdict, the timing of it is also raising eyebrows. As the Hindustan Times lead says, PT Usha throws Vinesh Phogat under the bus to defend IOA medical team. Now, Prem Panicker's point is that if Dr. Pardiwala was never responsible, and nobody is saying that he is or was, then why haven't we heard from the support team? And why was he taking the front row to explain at that point what had happened? Now, Sanjeev, you have raised a completely different set of questions, and you believe that somewhere a critical point of the law or the rules have been missed. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Thanks, Barkha. At the outset, I'm not a wrestling expert. All I know are the rules and how the results are announced.
Sanjeev, we're losing you. Yeah,
But
just
having
start
worked in the
over.
government, yeah, okay. At the outset, I would say that I'm not a wrestling expert, but I can understand nuances of rules and laws very easily based on my experience of 36.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm not initially going into this sabotage theory, but I'll go purely by rules before I come to the latter aspect. Um, if you see that the rules which govern this Olympics, these are international wrestling rules which are issued by the UWW. A simple Google search, Google Baba leads to a document which is of the year 2019 or 2020 at best. So if you Google International Wrestling Rules of Universal World Wrestling, it takes you to a document of 2019 and 2020. Everybody, including Vinesh, Bajrang, all the lawyers of both sides, including the luminary lawyers, they were basing it on the 2019-2020 rules. So I thought, okay, they are basing on that, let me argue on that. Article 3 of those rules says very clearly that these rules shall mandatorily apply to Olympics. So there is no doubt at all about applicability. Article 8 says there are two parts to Article 8. One part says, I'm talking about the old rules, 2019-20. It says
Yeah.
that there shall be a 2 kg weight allowance in all international events and World Cup. Then in parenthesis, it says, except UWW ranking events. So I had argued UWW ranking events are a notch below. If 2 kg allowance is given in World Cup, so it has to be given also in Olympics. Then I showed a combo box of UWW website where ranking series and ranking events are listed in non-Olympic and Olympic separately. So they were definitely
Right.
treating Olympic on a separate pedestal. So I was saying that 2 kg allowance is allowed in Olympics as well. Unfortunately, everybody, including Vinesh herself and Bajrang, I think who's related to her, they all think that in Olympic not even a gram is allowed, right?
But
So
in that case, what was the basis on which he was
okay,
disqualified?
so
Or
what I'm saying is, okay,
final bout?
my basis is yeah, okay, my basis is that Olympic is not yet just another UWW ranking event. I now move on from that. If
Yeah.
you get deeper into the website, there are latest rules of UWW 2023. So in
Yeah.
2024, those rules have to apply, and which nobody looked at. And I'm told not till the second round of arguments which are submitted yesterday. So those rules say 2 kg weight allowance is allowed to all events, all international events, World Cup, and all UWW ranking events. So even that exception is gone. So 2 kg was allowed in Olympics as well. There is no ambiguity about it, unless
So
there
are
is
you saying,
something.
I'm sorry if this is a silly question, but as I understand it, per the sequence of events, she did cut 2 kgs and was left with an extra surplus of 100 grams. You are saying
Yes,
you're saying she didn't need to cut that 2 kgs and 100
yes,
grams?
yes. What I'm trying to say that since 2023 rules clearly propound that all these three categories, that is international events, number two, World Cup, and number three,
Right.
UWW ranking events. In all these three cases, and that covers everything, including Olympics, 2 kg allowance is allowed. The poor lady, I'm saying poor lady, she had to work so hard to become 49.9 kgs on day one. And the AIMS doctors I spoke to, they told me very clearly by cutting the weight by such a large amount, there's a rebound effect on day two. So that rebound effect took place. She became more than 52. Then she tried her whole night to become less than 50, whereas she didn't need to be less than 50. Less than
So
52 was good enough.
so are you saying the initial disqualification was in violation of the rules?
Yes, exactly. And that's because 2019 and 20 rules were being read. In fact, one of the leading sports journalists talked to me today, and I've been in touch with most of them to get their perspective. They said, "Do you have a copy of 2023?" I said, "Yes." Then shared with him. Then he agreed, "Yes, everything is
Right.
included." Then there was no need for such a mad rush of cutting the weight. What were the administrators? I mean, there's so many administrators that accompany this Olympic troop besides the support staff. What were they
Right.
doing there? Couldn't they read these rules? I could read this in 10 minutes. They could just tell her that don't worry so much, we'll fight out your case. So my point is that if it was fought out clearly, and before the finals, if they made an interim plea of deferment of finals by maybe a few hours. Remember, CAS in their statement day before yesterday have clearly said that Vinesh did not make any urgent plea for interim order. So somebody had to guide her that please
Okay.
make an interim plea.